start the recording. There we go. So this session is recorded. We're going to put all the information, especially the marathon and all the great alumni opportunities on Gather afterwards, so you can find them in one click. And without further ado, I don't want to take too much time from our incredible guest. Welcome to our actually 10th episode of the Gather Talk, and welcome, Nicholas. We're excited to have you.
Thanks so much, Sarah. A real pleasure to be here. Real pleasure to be talking to JA again. We have absolutely huge respect for what you guys do, and we're just really excited to be having this conversation. Let me introduce myself really quickly. So my name is Nicholas Piershaw. I am the head of analysis and advocacy for the Varkey Foundation. For those of you who don't know us, we are a global education charity focused on building the status of teachers around the world. We are the creators of the $1 Million Global Teacher Prize. And this year we've launched something called the Global Student Prize in partnership with chegg.org. I have a very quick presentation, which I promise I will blow through as quickly as possible. And then I'm looking forward to having a good conversation with all of you. This is the ritual thing. Sarah, can I just double check you can see my screen? All good. Okay, thank you. Otherwise, it would be kind of a very boring presentation for all of you. I'm really excited to be talking about this with you guys. It's not often that you get to announce something that is really, kind of cool and innovative and interesting. And that's what I think the Global Student Prize is. It's something that as a team, we at the Varkey Foundation, we're really very proud of, and we think that it could make a real impact around the world. I will tell you all a bit about the prize. I'll tell you, how to apply, what we're looking for, what we think the winner is going to be doing. But before we do that, I kind of wanted to take a step back just for a couple minutes and talk about why we're doing this. Why set up a $50,000 student prize? Why now? Why is it important to do that now? And I guess the first thing I wanted to say was, it's really hard, as many of you know, to be a student today. It is harder than ever today to keep learning. Whether you are 16 and just entering your very final year at what we in the UK call college, whether you are 18 and about to go to university, whether you're enrolled in a training program, whether you are an older person, an adult who is returning to education after years working, I can't think of a more difficult time to be a student than today. Over the last year, COVID has cut off over 1.6 billion students from the classroom. Many of them are people who should be enjoying some of the happiest months and years of their life, at either university or in a training program. I've spoken to many people who have seen their education completely disrupted. I've also spoken to many people, and this is some of the hardest conversations I've had. Maybe it's the same with you. Many young people whose paths to employment have been completely cut off. It is a deeply uncertain time, and that's why it's more important than ever that we look at some of the success stories which are being driven by students as well. Students everywhere are facing just enormous challenges, but we know that from that, many students are also stepping up and working to find solutions, and that's something that the Global Student Prize is all about. What do students themselves think about their future? Well, last year, our partner, chegg.org, commissioned a survey of the hopes and fears of students around the world. They talked to students in 21 countries worldwide. That's in every territory, from Latin America to Europe, to North America, to Asia, everywhere. And what they found was incredibly troubling. They found that COVID has really taken a toll on students' mental health. I'm sure that's not going to be a surprise to anybody on this call, but over half of the students polled said that their mental health had suffered badly during the pandemic. The research also found that students were significantly worried about their growing debt. In fact, over a third of the students polled by chegg.org who had a student loan say that they were losing sleep over it. In fact, 1 in 5 students were saying that their debt makes them so anxious that they've sought medical help. And I think this is the most troubling thing of all for me, is that almost a quarter of the students polled have struggled to afford food in the last year. That's 22% of the students surveyed by Chegg.org in 21 countries. Students are facing a living crisis as well as an education crisis. Everything is connected, and they are facing a tougher time of it than pretty much any generation since the end of the last World War. Students, like all of us, care about the big issues. They worry about the issues that make the headlines and that drive political meetings. They worry about climate change. They worry about conflict. But Chegg.org's research showed that for many students, the international job market is actually a bigger issue for them than climate change, than for conflict. And I think that just goes to show how difficult it is to be a student today. That's the bad news. And I'm sure many of you on this call have heard similar stories in other webinars that you've done, or maybe you yourself have been doing research that's been telling you the same thing. Everyone knows how difficult it's been over the last year. This research is a stark reminder of the challenges that we face, but it's also something that students are facing head on. We know that students around the world are working for a better future. They are taking what they learn in the classroom or the study hall. They are taking what they learn from their training programs, and they're coming up with new ideas that will make a difference, that will change the lives of their peers, their community, and beyond. And many of these students, as we've seen, are working against incredible odds to do so. They are facing unprecedented uncertainty about their future. They don't know how they're going to get food, where their jobs are going to be. And despite that, they are showing up and they're coming up with new ideas that's going to change the world. And that's why our world needs to celebrate its students. When things are harder than ever before, when things look tougher than ever before, it is more important than ever before that we stand up for our students and we show that we respect them and we recognize the sacrifices that they've made to stay in education at this most difficult of times. And that's why we, in partnership with Chegg.org, have launched the Global Student Prize. Now, the prize is a $50,000 prize. It's for one extraordinary student whose work has had a positive impact on learning, on the lives of their peers, and on the wider society. And it's open to every student. You have to be at least 16 years old or over to apply. You have to be enrolled in some kind of academic institution or training and skills program, but we want to go as broad as possible. This isn't just for young people. We know now that undergraduate students, for example, are older than they've ever been before. If you are an older person who has made a return to education, if you are doing a part-time course, if you are doing online learning, this award could be for you. All that matters is that you are changing the world, and we are looking for students who are changing our world for the better. That's what this prize is all about. If you are in the company of an incredible student, if you know someone who is your friend or family member who you think is just extraordinary, please nominate them for this prize. If you are that person yourself, if you are an incredible student, please apply for this prize. We are not looking for someone to be the next Malala or Greta. That's not what this award is about. This is about celebrating people who are using their learning to make a difference. And this is about finding untold stories. Our foundation, the Varkey Foundation, runs the sister award to the Global Student Prize. It's called the Global Teacher Prize. We've been running that for a few years now. And part of the joy that we get from running that award is uncovering hundreds of stories of people around the world who are making a difference. And that's why we're so excited about the Student Prize, because we know that out there, there are literally tens of thousands of untold stories of people who are making a difference, but not making the headlines. That is what this prize, the Global Student Prize, is all about. Please, 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 if you have a moment, check out our website, www.globalteacherprize.org. Check out the Student Prize. It could be for you or someone that you know. And we know, as the Varkey Foundation, that winning this kind of award can be completely life-changing. It isn't just about the money, it's about the incredible platform that this award can give you to talk about your work and your community. We've seen that with our teacher prize. We believe we will see that with the student prize as well. So please, please, I beg you, nominate someone you know, nominate 3 people that you know, or even step up and apply yourself. It's really worth it. This being a global award, the judging process is very rigorous. We're looking at 6 different criteria when we're choosing a winner. We're looking at everything from academic achievement to impact on your peers. We're making at how you make a difference in your community. We're looking at how you've overcome the odds of the last year or so. We're looking at your creativity, and we're looking at how you've worked to build global citizenship, something that's more important than ever. Now our world is more fragmented than ever. Obviously, we're not going to find someone who ticks every box. This prize is about celebrating the depth of excellence and achievement, whether that be academic or changing the lives of your friends and family, or whether you're doing something for your community. That's what we're looking for. Beyond the numbers and the check boxes, we are looking for someone truly extraordinary. And part of the pleasure of this job is we know there are tens of thousands of people out there who meet that criteria. The deadline is pretty soon. I really want to encourage you guys, right after this talk, just stop whatever you're doing. Check out www.globalteacherprize.org. You have until the 30th of April to make the deadline. After that, we gradually whittle down the finalists from 50, which will be announced in the summer, to 10. Those are going to be done by our panel of online judges around the world. And then to pick the winner, a bit kind of like the Oscars, we have this incredible academy of leaders from the global education and skills sector from around the world. They're the ones charged with picking the winner, and that will be announced, we think, in November, COVID permitting. It's going to be really, really cool. I personally can't wait to meet the winner. From our teacher prize, I know I get kind of chills meeting these extraordinary people. They really are just incredible. Can't wait to meet the student winner as well. Just so I wanted to finish just by saying, please get your application in before the deadline. And then I have another 4 slides, which also all say, please get it in by the 30th of April, 2021. I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I wanted to tell you a bit about the award, why we're doing it. But I also just wanted to share, and actually my colleague Sonal's on the call as well, and she's been doing a huge amount of work on this, just how excited we are about this award. It's not every day in a job that you get to wake up and do something cool like this. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it, because I know that this is something that JA believes in as well. Really looking forward to discussing it further with you. Or if you've got to drop off right after that, after this call, after I finish speaking, www.globalteacherprize.org. Please apply. Thank you so much, guys.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Nicholas. I think for everybody who joined, they already read like, oh, there's a prize. Like, what is it all about? And thank you so much for the presentation. I think that summed it up perfectly. And we're so grateful that you are here and that we can present it. Like, guys, you know, they have like so many applications around the world, and Nicholas and his team, they take the time to really jump on this Gather talk with all of us to really present it. And I encourage, as Nicholas said, April 30th, everyone to apply for it. And we would love to take some questions for now. I can already see one from Rosemond. Is it for all people around the world? So is there like any specific citizenship needed, or is it globally?
Thanks. So no, it is for everyone from around the world. It's the Global Student Prize. Wherever you are from, whatever country or territory, you are eligible. We believe that anybody can apply. I think I'll need to double check, but the prize, the application form is available in different languages as well, but please do check it out. Well worth your time. And yes, anybody can apply as long as you're a student age 16 or over.
Awesome. Great. Do you have any more questions for the people who are listening? Please feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I will have some questions for Nicholas specifically as well. But I want to make sure that all the questions get answered. If you have any more, like you want to know any more details around the actual application, I'm sure everything is mentioned on the website like 25 times with the Q&A. I'm sure that's what we do all the time as well. So I'm pretty sure you can find all the details, but feel free to also connect afterwards on Gather, because we're going to publish a blog post on Gather with all the details, with the links, so you can go into one place and you can find everything. Okay, we have another question, again from Rosamond. Please decide the requirements stated. Is there the need for an essay, transcript, and recommendation?
I'll need to double check, but I think there's a very thorough application form online, which is what you need to complete. It is the criteria that I sort of set out earlier, the 6 criteria, and that's sort of an essay, but it doesn't have to be a long form essay. Essentially, it's sort of a few paragraphs for each one. It is useful to have obviously some kind of recommendation, but it's not, absolutely critical. Basically, we've tried to make the award pretty rigorous, but also pretty easy for people to apply for. So if you check it out, globalteacherprize.org, you'll see a application form. That's basically what you need to fill out. It's kind of like, it's going to sound like a bit silly. It's not like applying for a job. We've made it as easy as possible. We also need to give people a chance to shine in every field as well. So that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicholas. We have one more question. Do the students have to be at a post-high school level?
It's a good question. I think the answer is they need to be 16 or over, and that will mean different things in different countries. But basically, you have to be 16 or over and enrolled in either some kind of academic institution or some kind of skills training course as well. So you don't have to be at university or studying for a further school academic qualification. You could also be doing some kind of technical qualification as well. Again, we want to make this award as broad as possible. It is about being a student. For us, it's about showing how, as a student, you're using that learning to make a difference around the world.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicholas. I hope that answered all your questions. If you have any more, drop them in the chat. And what I would love from you, Nicholas, as well, because people might be like, oh, the teacher prize. Can you tell us a bit more on like what kind of teacher they are? And also for you guys, I mean, we all had teachers in school, right? Or if you're a student, you still have teachers. So we also not only want to encourage you to apply for the Global Student Prize, but also if you have amazing teachers and you're like, wow, this person is seriously changing the world, please do apply, like recommend them too, and nominate them. But from you, Nicholas, I would love to understand a bit better, who were the winners of the Global Teacher Prize in the previous years? Can you give us like a quick peek behind the curtain on what kind of people you've met throughout this process?
Absolutely. So they are all very different, actually, which is part of the cool thing. So the Global Teacher Prize, for if you guys don't know, it's this $1 million award for one extraordinary teacher who's made an incredible contribution to the profession over the last year. It's basically, we very humbly call it like the Nobel for teaching, and it's made an incredible dent in advocacy for teachers around the world. We kind of want to find the best teacher in the world. What we know is that they don't all look alike, and they're not all from one country. We also know that the best teacher in the world isn't just from what you might think of as a traditionally high-performing education system. It's a teacher who does the best with what they have, who improves the lives of their students. And our winners have taught from everywhere from an inner city school in the US to Kenya, rural Kenya, to the Canadian Arctic, to a Palestinian refugee camp. We have one winner from London, where I'm from. All of them are very different. What they have in common is their incredible commitment to their students. And I think also just their willingness to change things up a little bit when things aren't working the way they should. So for example, one winner from a few years ago, Maggie McDonnell, who is this incredible teacher who taught in the Canadian Arctic. She taught in a town called Selowitz, which is so far north that you literally run out of road before you get there. You have to fly there. She taught indigenous students there, and she realized that one thing she could do to help them was to help them to reconnect with their culture and community. So she did a lot of work kayaking for them. And this gave them, from what I understand, from what she's told me and what her students have told us, this sort of incredible bond. And it really helped them not just learn to kayak, but to discover well-being and self-care, and to connect with their culture, and to take that abroad and talk about what it means to them, to advocate for their community. And that's something that all of our students have done, all of our teachers have done. A teacher from a couple of years ago, Peter from Kenya, he taught in a school which had, I think, only one working computer and no internet access. And his school, his students, thanks to his teaching, went on to win an international science competition in the US. This year's winner, Ranjit Desali from India, does a huge amount of work with girls' education. And what he's done is just incredible. He has used a kind of blend of technology and textbooks to enable his girl students to connect with learning in their own language, in their language of Kannada, and to learn through their own culture, so through poems and through excerpts in their own language. Essentially, he is making education work for his students rather than the other way around. So I guess, you know, maybe I'm going on a little bit. All of these guys are absolutely incredible. You can listen to them talk for hours, I promise you. They are much more interesting than I am. And it is well worth checking them out, globalteacherprize.org. What they all have in common is their ability to think differently about the challenges that they're facing, and their just incredible, heartfelt commitment to their students.
Wow, that was amazing. And I feel like everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And now even cooler to add kind of the student as a prize too. And so like maybe, you know, the teacher is the person who inspires and encourages the students to actually think outside the box, right? And that's why they are also changing the world. And we have some more questions in the chat. So one is, are prospective students eligible too? So I guess if they're not yet in uni or high school or whatever, but like will be there soon, I'm assuming. Rosemont, that's kind of like where your question is heading.
It's a good question. I think it's 16 or over and you have to be enrolled in education. But, you know, that's a really good question. Let me double check and get back to you. I think we'll look at every story individually. But my understanding is you have to be enrolled. But again, let me just double check the fine print online and come back to you guys with that. But really good question.
All right. Stephen also has a question. What impact does a student have to contribute to the community to apply? I guess that's a very broad question. Maybe you can give some like rough examples to make it a bit easier.
Okay, that's a really good question. And again, like this award is about showing just the incredible diversity of impact that students have. So in the presentation I set out, I think it was like 6 criteria that we're looking at. It ranges from academic achievement to change in the community. Now, what does change in the community look like? We don't have a fine print that tells us what that is, but we know it when we see it. So for example, and this isn't like everything, but this is a few examples off the top of my head. We know that over the last year or so, students have been setting up food banks. They have been leading activism on social justice issues. We know that they have been working to make sure that their relatives get fed during the pandemic. We've also seen students who have, you know, advocated for what we would call legislative or policy changes at a local level or national level as well. So I guess what I'm saying is we're not too tied up in the fine print or the semantics of what change looks like at the community level. If you're doing practical good in your community, and if that is something which is self-evident, I think that, you know, you have a good shot at the Global Student Prize.
Awesome, thanks a lot. And more questions, Nicholas, coming your way. Is there, so Terry is asking, is there any particular way that the $50,000 US dollar needs to be spent? mentioned like high school debt. Could the winner spend it on the debt? Does it have to be used on a community or global project?
That is a really good question. No, so there's sort of no limitations on what it can be spent for. It doesn't have to be for a community or global project. It could be, for example, someone to pay off their student debts. We know that students face incredibly high mounting levels of debt at the moment. But we do ask in the application, what would you spend the money on? That is something that we look at. What I'll say is this. We've run the Global Teacher Prize, the sister prize that I've been talking about, for a few years now, and that's $1 million award. And we tend to give it, the people that we choose, we don't choose it because of how they're going to spend the money, but because they are good people, they are extraordinary people. They tend to spend that money on community projects or global projects anyway. Like one of them has, Andrea Zafaraku in the UK has used the prize money to set up a charity that lets artists come to her school and schools around the UK. Another prize winner, Maggie from Canada, who I spoke about, used her money to set up, I think, an NGO to serve the Indigenous peoples in the Canadian Arctic. And I think Peter from Kenya has used the money to help his community in rural Kenya. So, we don't specify how you have to spend the money, but we assume that if you win the award, you're probably not the type of person who's going to keep it all to yourself. But we don't have a rule.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for those questions and especially also the answers. So I want to make sure that like everyone who wants to kind of like introduce themselves, if you would like to jump off, like not off camera, on camera, and you want to introduce yourself and just like, connect with Nicholas on that one, you're more than welcome to do so. And one other question I have to give everybody a bit of like time to think about if they want to like actually talk to you face to face is, so I would love for you to also tell us a bit more about the entire Varkey Foundation, right? Because we've been talking about the prizes, they're amazing, but I know like the Varkey Foundation is like giant and you're doing so many incredible things. So I'd love for you to also introduce like more things you do, right, with the foundation.
No, thanks so much, Sarah. Really, again, this is an incredible group of people to be talking to, because I think this is, very much something that, the idea of being a change maker, of being an entrepreneur, of achieving something as a young person. This is what the student prize is all about. So, again, let me just say, please do take a look at the website. Please do apply. Right. The Varkey Foundation. We are a global education charity. We are headquartered in the UK, and our mission is to improve the status of teachers around the world. We work to champion the cause of teachers. And actually, that's something that we are known for, obviously, through our Global Teacher Prize. What we've done this year is, for the first time, and this is kind of a step in the dark, is to branch out, because we realized that with the pandemic, with everything being connected, it's important to look at the whole education system as well. It's important to look at what students are going through as well as teachers. But for many years, our focus has been to raise the status of teachers around the world. And we've done that because we know that basically teachers get a raw deal. Our research, like we've done global research around the world, which has shown that teachers basically do not enjoy a very high social standing. And that's a problem, because the world needs, before the pandemic, the world needed 69 million more teachers to reach its global goal on education. And we knew that we were nowhere near that figure. So we work on behalf of teachers, we champion them. One of the things that we're best known for actually is bringing people together. So we were known for something called the Global Education and Skills Forum, which was this annual forum we did every day in Dubai, which brought together sector leaders from the public, philanthropic, and private sectors to discuss the key issues in education. And that was really just trying to crack the difficult nut that is global education. We felt that if we got everyone under one roof, if we got everyone in the room together, we would be able to crack key issues like funding, like teacher recruitment and retention, and like how do we get people to improve the public image of teachers. But yeah, for us, I think the truth is, like everyone, this last year has forced us to take a step back and to reevaluate what we're doing. And that's part of the reason we're now wanting to work more closely with students and to champion some of the work that they're doing. Our great legacy as a foundation is really the incredible teachers that we've been able to give a platform to. That's something that I'm proudest of, actually, is that as a foundation, we tend to give teachers a platform rather than speak for ourselves. I tend not, to do a huge amount of webinars. What we tend to do is to get the teachers within our network to do them. So if I sound a little rusty at the moment, it's because normally the person doing this talk would be a classroom teacher. And you know what, that's actually kind of important, because everyone is talking about these guys, but no one is really giving them a chance to speak for themselves. And that's what we believe in the Varkey, as the Varkey Foundation, is giving, these key constituencies, giving teachers and students a platform to talk for themselves. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you do not sound rusty at all. We're excited to have you here. And I mean, honestly, this is so inspiring what you guys do. And thank you so much for opening up for students now all around the world. And I think our two worlds, so the JA world and the Varkey Foundation world, they match so well together. And we also believe that we want to listen to the alumni. I actually participated myself back in the J Company program now 11 years ago. And yeah, now I'm working full-time for JA. And this is also like, I learned so many things because of the program, because the teacher introduced the program, right? So this is kind of where the two worlds marry. And I want to make sure that we have the last round of questions. So guys, if you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Just as a reminder, we will have all the information on Gather, so you can find everything there. We will link the website. Don't worry, all the details, all the information. I know this was a lot of things in a very short amount of time, but you can find it there. But most importantly, make sure to apply before April 30th. So, there are always the people I'm like, oh no, I missed the deadline. So April 30th, we're gonna shout it again so people know the deadline. Okay, so Maya has a question regarding the status of the global education and the teachers' input. Are there any plans to proceed with the conference in Dubai? And are student leaders welcome to volunteer, contribute, and take part? That is a great question, actually.
It is. So our conference in Dubai is on hold at the moment because of the global pandemic. As you can imagine, it's something that needs to be booked just months in advance. And it's something that really, like, we will literally spend an entire year planning and building up. So it was impossible to hold it last year. Realistically, I don't think it's happening this year. What we are doing, like everyone, is a sort of series of virtual meetings. We do have one coming up called the Global Student Summits, which, it would be wonderful if some of you could apply. There is a chance for people to get involved. Let me just, when I'm next on mute, I will post the link in the chat so you guys can see it. But yeah, we are continuing. I think the point for us is to continue the advocacy, is to continue to get people under one roof. What we have seen, obviously, during the pandemic is the sort of explosion of similar initiatives, of various conferences and webinars, which is fantastic. So I think for us, we're now thinking, what's the best way for us to have these conversations? How do we make a difference? And that's, to be honest, like everyone, that's something we're still struggling with. But yes, I'll post the link to our next event in the chat, and I hope that some of you can make it. But if it's a choice between applying for the prize or attending the thing, please apply for the prize. It's really worth it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. All right, there's no more questions. Okay, last chance for everybody to ask your questions. If not, I think everyone is also happy to get 20 minutes officially back in their calendars, right? You can grab a coffee, go quickly outside for a walk, wherever you are. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And the entire team, right? Like for building this up, we're incredibly grateful that we can offer this amazing opportunity to our JA students and JA alumni. Thanks again for you being on the show, right? How we call it. And we will put everything on Gather. If there's any last words, Nicholas, the stage is yours. Otherwise, we will.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Real pleasure to speak to all of you today. I know everyone has so many other things they could be doing. Thank you so very, very much. If I could take like 10 seconds of your time, I just want to thank JA, Sarah in particular, thanks for hosting us. Let me also give a very cheeky shout out to my colleague Sonal Patel, who's on the call, who just does a huge amount of work on the Global Student Prize and just deserves huge kudos for that as well. But thank you guys, thank you so much. And I hope that we hear from some of you. Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. And I hope you join us for the next Gather talk. All the information are on Gather as usual. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.